Good day, everyone! I am Blaise Jayford Bugahad,
And I am Nancy Omega.
and we choose the research titled
Self-assessment and tutor assessment in online language materials.
Ingenio FC online course and tester. Assessment is a very important component of the learning process. Its importance mainly derives from the fact that it's capable of influencing the way teaching and learning are addressed.
According to Brown and Glasner in 2003, consider assessment as one of the key aspects in education and define it as the dynamic developmental process which develops and changes as the needs arise and an understanding of the process improves.
According to MISIC 1996, assessment is usually found in the classroom in the form of innovation and new ways of teaching in an attempt to foster students' in motivations and the emergence of a greater variety of learning strategies. This chapter explores some of the key issues concerning the assessment process of skills tested by the Cambridge First Certificate in English examination and the ways in which the Ingenio and online preparatory materials contribute to its effectiveness and efficiency in both self-assessment and tutor assessment.
One of the main advantages of the materials created is their adaptability and flexibility. It allows students to have access to two different modalities of assessment and two different learning options, thus enabling a wider range of students with different characteristics and needs to organize the way in which they intend to face the learning process in the most convenient way for each of them so as to obtain better results.
Student self-assessment is the first learning modality offered. It enables students to conduct their own learning process and to assess their own learning achievement in an independent and autonomous way. Tutor assessment, the other modality provided by these materials, leads to the development of the student's autonomy and sense of responsibility over the learning process, while enabling students to get as much help and support as they need from a human tutor in order to both complete the different tasks and attain the target level of language.
In order to design the right test to measure the four main skills tested by FCA, the reading, writing, listening, and speaking, it is important to know the micro skills and strategies that the candidates need to put into practice in order to ascertain that they have the appropriate level, as well as the way to assess the skills.
According to Alderson 2000, the reading assessment guidelines also apply to the different levels of understanding to be assessed, which are literal understanding of a text and understanding of meanings and that are not directly stated in text or an understanding of the main implication of a text. Because there are so many aspects to take into account when assessing a reading. As Alderson 2000 points out, it is very important to find a way to measure reading accurately, considering to what extent the tests reflect and are based on previous research and literature referred not only to the process but also to the product. Learners are also provided with more resources such as reference materials, additional explanations and hints, further reading, appropriate feedback according to the student's performance, automatic communication of results, thorough process reports, and printing-enabled screens.
According to Brown and Yule 1983, historically writing tend to be considered more prestigious and elitist than speaking. According to Hamp Lyons 1991, there are two main ways to assess writing, direct and indirect.
As for listening, it is considered as the least understood of all skills, according to Alderson and Bachman 2001. In spite of being the most important one because of its potential influence in teaching methodologies, it is also difficult to measure at a technical level and it is time-consuming too, which may explain the frequent reluctance to test it. The three main approaches to assessing listening are discrete point, integrative, and communicative. According to Bach 2001, considers the communicative approach the most effective one. It characterized by using language for the purpose of communication in a particular situation and for a particular purpose. In this approach, the texts to be listened to are authentic and genuine. There is a well-defined goal, and the examiners have to accomplish authentic tasks. The basic idea underlying communicative testing is that these tests emulate the use of language in the real world, which means that the construct to be assessed is richer and more realistic, in such a way that it allows the examiner to make useful inferences about the examinee's communicative abilities.
Lastly, speaking assessment is considered the hardest skill to be taught and tested through computers, which might explain the lack of representativeness of studies focusing on speaking. According to Loama 2009, conceives speaking assessment as a cycle in which the participants involved are the examiners, the interlocutors, the examiners, and the rating marking criteria.
The Ingenio FCE online course and tester are good examples of the way in which the use of ICT in language learning can contribute to the effectiveness and efficiency of the assessment process of basic skills such as reading, writing, listening, and even speaking into modalities: student self-awareness or student self-assessment and tutor assessment. The students are allowed to choose between these two modalities of assessment on account of the flexibility of these materials. Their choice depends on their needs, preferences, learning styles, and personal characteristics. This is possible thanks to the fact that the students can choose whatever to use these materials as part of a blended learning course. Example, attending classes and also practicing online. By completing the course and testers, contents autonomously while being monitored by a tutor or following the course in a completely autonomous way, both by paying attention to the automatic feedback reports that show the results and by comparing their answers with the models provided into those cases where automatic correction is possible. The self-assessment modality enables students to conduct their own learning process and to assess their own learning achievement in an independent, autonomous, and individual way, while the tutor assessment fosters the development of the student's autonomy and sense of responsibility while enabling them to get as much help and support from a human tutor as they need. Both modalities have the common goal of making students think critically about themselves and to enable them to make decisions and judgment about their own progress, in spite of the fact that it is done in different ways depending on the modality chosen. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.